Al Michaels articulates some points during the Bengals-Colts game, the preseason game this last Thursday. We're going to talk about his comments on there. Is there a quarterback controversy brewing in Indianapolis? And I'll try to learn how to say the word controversy in this episode also. Let's get into it.
1 for 3 on the way. Oh!
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this Indianapolis Colts and Hoosiers community on here. Today, we're going to talk about Anthony Richardson. What does this season hold for Anthony Richardson and the Colts? We're going to talk about a lot of different angles of this. For one, what are the expectations of the fans for Anthony Richardson? Because I think right now, from looking at Kent Sterling's site where he asked everybody to say what he thought the Colts record was going to be entered into a contest, everybody's shooting a little bit high. And we're all shooting a little bit high on the record. Then to me, our expectations are too high and we're putting too much pressure on this guy from the very beginning. And we're just going to talk about all of that and how inexperienced he is. And then we're going to talk about the Indiana Hoosiers, the battle for Atlantis. The schedule is out. Complain all you want about the noon tip-off, but this is going to be the biggest test around Thanksgiving week for the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll talk about all that and more on this episode, but let's get right into it. Let's get into talking about Anthony Richardson. We're going to look at some of the plays. Let's go over to the Colts corner and get it started. All right, so we're just going to break down a few of the plays right here, some of the formations they were in and where he was throwing the ball. And look, in this episode, I'm not trying to be overly critical of Anthony Richardson. There's something we have to all keep in mind, is that this guy has played no football whatsoever. He has thrown, coming into this first game, he has thrown 411 passes in his entire career as a football player, including high school. So when you look at it that way, get the players we had coming in, Luck and Peyton Manning, those guys played 4 years of college and both practically started from their freshman year on, and that's just not the case here. I do really feel like a lot of the fans who are thinking the Colts are going to go 10-7 this year or 11-6 or even 9-8, we have to remember Gardner Minshew was able to really mitigate, and I don't even know what that means, but he was able to keep the damage to a minimum by not making many mistakes. And this year we might have a team that really turns the ball over a lot more while Anthony Richardson goes through a lot of growing pains and that type of thing. And then we'll talk about some of the scenarios and we'll talk about what Al Michaels said just after we look at a few of these clips. But let's bring up this first formation on here so you can see a post and out route, and then Pierce was coming across the middle. And you can see the safety went up there and pulled across, followed Pierce across the field, and he makes a great play on this right here. And some of these I'm not going to show the whole clip. I do not want to get demonetized by the NFL by putting a clip on this too long. So he had some really great looks in this game. So here's one of the perfect situations where he really saw what they were doing. He saw the blitz coming from the side. He pointed the guy out. You can see him point over there. He points to the blitzer. Then that was a signal to Pierce that he was the hot route. And as soon as that guy came on the blitz, he got the ball right out to him. That was the good. The recognition, the changing of the play, and then just popping the ball right out there to him. That is what you want to see. Throws it to Pittman right up the seam, really pretty good touch on that pass. I mean, the arm strength with this guy, he has got some unbelievable arm strength. Okay, here's one where when he was thrown in the end zone, he has got this tendency to, and I believe it's just because he has a strong arm, is to just like lay back and not really get his body into the throw. And that is causing a lot of bad mechanics. You can see right at the very end of this play, he gets a little bit happy feet and feels like he's going to get hit or something. The way he kind of throws it and flinches a little bit. I hope that is not on his mind, even though you know it's got to be. When you get injured in football, it is on your mind that you do not want to get knocked out again. It is, until you play so much and then, you know, you can work yourself out of it. But I mean, even anybody, it doesn't matter who you are. You get injured, you're going to be thinking about it, and it's going to be on your mind. So there. And the touchdown pass to A.D. Mitchell, really, really great. He recognized that, and they were coming on a blitz on that, and he was able to get rid of that ball and kind of jump. And you see everybody clears out here into the middle of the field. A.D. Mitchell just runs that kind of drag route across the middle and ends up wide open, takes it right in for the touchdown. Okay, so here's one I want to look at, his mechanics. Throwing the ball out to the flat. And I will say, nobody made an art form of throwing the ball out to the flat better than Tom Brady ever did. He is the guy you just got to look at. He was better at throwing those type of routes and putting the guy where he's going to catch it, the running back, and make yards out of it in a meaningful way. He mastered those throws and understood the importance of every single play.
Tom Brady was the master of this.
He drops back. This guy's covered, even though you can see Pittman, if he stays on Pittman for just a flash longer, Pittman flashes open, but he moves off of Pittman. So here, he moves off of Pittman quickly, and then he also does kind of pat the ball and double clutch a little bit. That causes this, like, you're throwing that out to the flat, where really, really prolifically great quarterbacks and, you know, guys that mastered stuff like that, like Phillip Rivers, you know, we saw he was a master at throwing almost like a floater ball out there to a guy so he could just kind of catch it in stride and get some yardage. That is going to be a work in progress. We're all wanting to see. And then the next play, the interception, everybody knows about the interception. On the same page, I like how everybody blames Granson on this play. But if you look, we don't know if this was an option route. If Granson was breaking off of that based on how the defender was playing him, then he broke in the right way because the guy was playing way far to the inside on him. But we're not hearing that. We're just hearing that, like, it was miscommunication. It was Granson's fault. I've heard people say, well, if that was a sit route, he was supposed to turn it. I don't think anybody knows that for a fact. I think the only people that know that, we don't know if there was an audible called in the huddle. We don't know if that was an option route. We really don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass like, oh, I know that was supposed to be a sit route. Could have been an option route. It looked like when he went up in there, he was going to move off of the defender to the outside because the defender was playing him right up the middle right there. Let's go to the clip of what Al Michaels said about Anthony Richardson, and then we'll talk about the scenarios, how this could play out as the season goes on, and then we'll talk about Indiana's schedule in the battle for Atlantis.
Game, then a bad game, a good game, then a bad game. He's a pick. Everybody's kind of expecting him to be the guy. You got a guy like Joe Flacco with the roster they have. I just wonder how you handle that if it goes down that path, if you're Shane Steichen, because you know what you're going to get in Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's Evan Hall. You know, I would think you can feel it inside the team at that point, too. What are the guys thinking? You know, do we make the change here? What do we do? Yeah.
Yeah, hey, 37.
I think you read the room.
Yeah.
Is what I would do.
Yeah. Again, we're all hoping to see him have a monster year and lead this team to great things. But that's the big thought. I think even if you're a Colts fan, you're hoping to see Anthony Richardson be this guy that can run this offense that Jalen Hurts ran 2 years ago in Philly, and he's running zone read and he's making plays. But if it's inconsistent, how long do you go until you start to maybe have have that kind of discussion.
Well, it's almost like, what you do with any rookie quarterback. He's not a rookie, but in effect, he only played 4 games last year.
Yeah.
And he has very little experience.
The reality is the roster around the quarterback spot, this is a playoff team.
You guys had a good weekend this weekend? Are you still trying to date that cat? Remember when you tried to ask her out? That was freaking hilarious. Hey there, how you doing? You ain't doing nothing. Maybe sometime we could bring some kibble over. We could share a cup of milk or something like that. Maybe give it a try, all right?
Set it on fire and wreck it to the children and laugh at their parents, and then we'll get on the... Whoa, man, I'm toasted.
Yeah, you are right. It was freaking hilarious. Like, oh my God. Good luck on asking that cat out, you hillbilly monkey. So Al Michaels, he broached this topic on there, and I'm glad he did, because it gave me a talking point to at least jump off of, because he is one of the most respected people in all of football, all of the NFL. I mean, my favorite announcer of all time. So easy to see how there could be, if Richardson goes out there and has one good game and one bad game and one good game and one bad game, but beyond that, if he gets a concussion in a game and Flacco comes in, what is going to happen? Could there be something that brews up where we're like nobody wants to lose games? And last year, this is where I think the pressure gets ramped up on Anthony Richardson by the fans, and it's not really his fault. I just see it where Minshew was 9-8 last year. So everybody, Kent Sterling put out a thing where he had a contest, and he said, to win the contest, you had to say what you thought the Colts record was going to be. And I went through all of those things, and nearly everybody was 9-8, 9, 10, 11 wins, in that range. That's where 99% of the people were riding. I mean, nobody was there, which I've said on here before that, I could definitely see them winning 3 or 4 games. That's hard to imagine because, that's how bad we were with Jeff Saturday and the rag arm Matt Ryan as our quarterback. But there could be a scenario where Anthony Richardson makes a lot of mistakes. And then you do have to kind of think about, well, what if he does sit for a little bit? Say he gets a concussion or something like that. Would it be beneficial to him? And I think this maybe should have been even thought about last year, is would it be beneficial to him to sit out for an entire year and just kind of learn from being behind the scenes where he doesn't have all that pressure to go out there and truck guys? This guy's only thrown 411 passes. He's only started 16 games in his entire career through high school, and he's had injuries every single season that he's played. Even in high school, he had the shoulder problem in high school as well that knocked him out for some time. He had a hamstring. He's had some different types of things. So Anthony Richardson is very, very difficult to evaluate, and it's for a few different reasons. A, he is a super likable guy. I mean, you hear him talk. He does things in the community. He is a very, very well-spoken. I like him. I mean, his personality is top-notch. He just seems like a really top-notch guy. He's physically just, when you look at his size, strength, everything like that, there's nothing to say. I mean, we've never seen a guy that's 250 pounds and as big as him and as fast as him playing the quarterback position. So, I mean, physically, he's just an unstoppable force. Does he have an inability to take coaching from the coaches? And this is only because you just hear it here and there, some stuff coming out of the news about Anthony Richardson, and he's like, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to be myself out there. And if you're a guy that's been injured over and over and over again at such a young age, that's not really what you want to hear. You don't want to hear somebody say that. You want to hear somebody say, I have a lot to learn. I need to keep myself healthy, and I need to learn what it's going to take to keep myself healthy. And here's where it really, really boils down to. 95% of the time, he says the exact right thing. It's just that 5% of the time when he says, so he plays with reckless abandonment out there. That's how Anthony Richardson plays. And he's inconsistent. His inconsistencies in his game lead to him being unavailable on the field. You see, it's like he has to run. His biggest, if he doesn't run, then what's the point of putting him out there? And I disagree with like Kent Sterling all through the offseason. And I know this is probably a developing story, but he has to run. For the Colts to win games, if they try to turn him this year into a pocket passer, and look, the Bengals players, this is another part, the Bengals players were really coming down on him hard during this joint practice saying he can't throw the ball, he only throws the spots, he doesn't really read the defense, so like these guys were kind of like chastising him and whatnot, and that's not good to see. He's inconsistent and he's unavailable. And his inconsistencies come from his style of play. So he needs to run, but he needs to run and protect himself in a way that's going to keep him on the field. The definition of potential is that somebody could develop into something at a future date. Potential does not mean that the team is going to be 10-7 or 11-6 this season. The potential means exactly that. I think people take the potential and they think the potential is here right now. No, if he was right now ready to go, he wouldn't have potential. He would have the skills available to him to put it together and put a winning season on the line. We wouldn't be on edge about what's going to happen with this Colts team. So just keep that in mind. Everybody always talks about potential, but it's like, oh, what is that? He's got to run his ass off out there and just get the hell out of bounds. I mean, this guy, if he can stay out there, they could win 10, 11 games. But if he tries to run through a brick wall every time that he gets frustrated and he can't pass the ball, if he tries to he can't throw the ball, and so he's frustrated and he's running trying to run through a brick wall, well, then that's going to cause him to have the injuries. That is exactly right, Hillbilly Monkey. That is what I am most concerned about, is that he struggles to throw the ball, and he's struggling to throw the ball, and so he's going to take off and run, and he's going to try to get first downs. He's going to try to run over people, and that's going to cause him to get injured. What kind of scenarios? See, I got a number in my head, and it's about 8 games. I think he needs to play at least 8 games this year for us to evaluate whether or not he's a bust or what's going to happen with it going forward. Say if he only plays in 6 games and he gets knocked out for the season and Flacco comes in and plays and they win like 9-10 games like they did last year, which is totally capable. I think he needs to play more than 6 games. If he plays like 10 games, if we see some real potential there, we see some real growth and throwing the ball and keeping himself healthy, sliding, getting out of bounds, doing all of these things, then you could definitely say, yeah, we want to keep putting our eggs in that basket for next year, and then maybe he'll develop more and be able to play a full season. I think we got to see him for at least 8 games. That's just the number I'm putting out there. No Colts fan wants to hear that, but that's the reality of the situation that we're in. Now let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. They got their schedule in the Battle of Atlantis, playing Louisville at noon. In the first game, that is a must-win game. And we know Pat Kelsey, he is going to be firing up a lot of three-pointers. As a coach, he coached at Charleston, and he's coaching Louisville now. They are going to be, and we know our defensive struggles were guarding the three-point line last year. So this is going to be a true test. And look, Louisville, if any game they're circling on their schedule that they really probably think they could beat, because it's going to be this Indiana game, because we have a lot of new players coming in. This is going to be early in the year. Also, you're playing this in the ballroom at the Bahamas. So it's not even in like a real stadium. It's in like this weird ballroom area where they play these games. So I'm sure the acoustics are going to be fantastic. That's right, the acoustics are going to be fantastic down there. Well, who gives a shit about acoustics? They're playing a basketball game. I don't know why they play this basketball game in a ballroom. I mean, they can't find somewhere. They might as well play this like outside in the Bahamas somewhere. Why do they play it in a ballroom? Like, that's the other thing. You're playing against some big level teams, but not on the road and not in a crazy hard environment. You're playing in the ballroom. So it's going to be must win for the Hoosiers. And they really got to win this whole thing. And look, Gonzaga and Arizona, they are ranked above Indiana. Indiana, most likely, if they beat Louisville, they'll play Gonzaga. And then if they beat Gonzaga, they will play Arizona in the final. That would be a great matchup to see Umar Ballo go up against Arizona and absolutely torch them. So this could go so many wonky directions for the Hoosiers. And this is exactly why when the schedule came out, I was really mad that, they didn't have any concrete games, any concrete big games to play. Because if they lose the first game, they go into the losers bracket and they might play, Oklahoma or Providence or one of those teams. They have to get this done. And Mike Woodson, he better have the team ready by Thanksgiving. And it's going to be interesting season. I can smell it brewing for the Hoosiers. Like, it's going to be an interesting season. Just all the changes, the new faces coming in, all the changes in the Big Ten is going to make it harder. And, we got this real weak non-conference schedule, which I think is really going to make the pressure that much bigger once the Big Ten season starts. I just really think the pressure is going to be ramped up on this Hoosier team. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier and Colts fans.
Hello.